But anyways, let's move on to our favorite team, the New York Knicks, and finally Phil Jackson. I think James Dolan watches this. We put out the video about KP's long-term future, and then maybe 24 hours later, Phil Jackson's fired. I said it was going to happen. It was going to happen.
Yeah.
So Phil Jackson is now fired. He's now out in New York. Kind of really stemmed from Melo's camp saying that they wanted to start a buyout process, and Dolan's like, nope, Phil, you're gone. So that's happened. Now Phil Jackson's fired. So the question is, what's next for the New York Knicks? Not only bringing in the replacement for Phil Jackson, but also the future of the Knicks, and then also probably the future of KP and Carmelo. So there's a lot to digest here. Obviously, we just talked about KP. So looking at this, at least who's going to fill or who should fill the next role for the Phil Jackson and for the Knicks, because obviously there's Mazzieri out there from Toronto, David Griffin, who's just got fired from the Cavs. Is there anyone that's kind of a perfect fit or just a fit in general that the Knicks should be looking at?
I'm going to go Griffin, and there's only one reason why. He's got a ring. That's the big reason. I know you can put it on LeBron James, but I look at what the Cavs had done, and I look at what he has done for that, and I know that it's Yuri is like you said, Dave, when we were driving here, is like he screwed him over too many times. Let's get him on the team.
Yeah,
kind of a thing.
Notoriously behind the Carmelo trade off the Nuggets and the Bargnani trade.
I just look at the two rosters and I go, one has been in the finals the last 3 years. The other one has, yes, they're a good playoff team, but they haven't been able to take that next step. I know that there's a big roadblock, though, when you're dealing with LeBron James.
Having LeBron James is like cheating when you say you're getting to the finals in the East. It's like, is it a year in the 2000s? Yep, LeBron James in the finals.
I mean, what was the last year he wasn't in the Eastern Conference Finals? Was it like 2009, 2006?
Somewhere
2006,
back.
I think.
Yeah, it was somewhere way back. I'm going 8, maybe.
2008?
I don't know.
I think it's been forever since he wasn't in there. I mean, because obviously Boston had their run. Magic had their run too, but maybe it was a Boston Magic final series. But looking at all of this, I mean, I think the next move for them is probably... I don't think it's either Griffin or Yuri. I don't know where it's going to come from, but knowing the Knicks...
mystery box?
It could be Isaiah Thomas. I mean, look, for fuck's sake. I mean,
back.
Could it be Chauncey?
I don't think Chauncey wants that. I don't think Chauncey wants to leave. If he wasn't taking the easy job in the Cavs... I don't think
that's not an easy job.
No, you
think rebuilding the Knicks is an easier job than the Cavs?
The question I was going to ask is, which one would you rather have if you're Chauncey, the Cavs or the Knicks?
I'll take the Knicks.
Cavs.
If LeBron,
less pressure.
No, because if LeBron walks, Kyrie walks. What do you do then?
Then you're stuck with nothing.
Okay, then you're rebuilding in Cleveland, where it's not that big of a market with LeBron gone.
And nobody wants to go to Cleveland after LeBron James.
Okay, so now you're going to have to rebuild New York, rebuild all of the shit they've done.
Instead, you've got New York with Porzingis and Frank and Hernan Gomez, not the same level, obviously, but still a quality contributor.
And you also still have James Dolan, the stench of Isaiah Thomas, Phil Jackson, Stephon Marbury, Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell, Derek Fisher. You have the stench of all of those players.
Yeah, so by comparison, you're not going to look that bad, you know.
But you're already having a terrible track record. James Dolan is one of the worst owners in the NBA.
You have pieces there. With the Cavs, you have guys who are going to walk away willingly and have been outspoken about it.
But will LeBron James do a thing with that CP3 did and opt in and then get traded? I mean, he could possibly do that. They could possibly do that to help.
That's not the LeBron thing.
But that's not true. When he left Cleveland the first time, there was picks moved to Cleveland. You don't remember that?
I don't think he does that this time.
There was a sign and trade. I think he would do it again. I think he did it once before. I think he would do it again if he left Cleveland. He doesn't have a reason not to. He's going to opt in for $33 million or whatever he has.
And the only thing I'm going to say, I'm going to get back to the Knicks.
Yeah.
But the reason why I say he wouldn't do that is Gilbert's gone. He hates Griffin. Why would he help Daniel Griffin, the guy that he hated with the whole letter situation?
Because of Cleveland.
I don't think
Cleveland's bigger.
I think he hates Griffin more than he loves Cleveland.
I think LeBron loves his hometown, and I think he loves Cleveland more than he would put that away.
The job, though, and that's the thing, and what this is stemming from to me, the Knicks to me is a great job for the right person because, like you guys said, if LeBron leaves and Kyrie leaves, nobody's going to want to go to Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Like Cleveland has been, and I'm sorry if you are in Cleveland, but when it came to sports, You guys didn't win anything. Like that's where careers have gone to die. That's where all the sadness has been in sports. The Knicks, it's been like New York, and you get to bring New York out of the darkness and back up to the top. Like, this is a team that prides themselves on their like, the only two teams in my lifetime that I've seen so much pride from the city is the New York Yankees and the New York Knicks. Like, those are the top two. And with the Knicks, like, you get to be the guy to bring them back. And if they get the right basketball mind in there, they could be back at the top, especially in a weak East, especially if the Cavs get weak by losing both those players.
See, the thing is that I don't disagree that the Knicks are the easiest sell in the world. But the reason is, and we talked about this with
James Dolan.
Everyone has failed there since James Dolan.
Everyone has failed there. And then also what we just said with Phil being there was that it was the least likely or least wanted place to go to. That was with Phil there. I know, but what I'm saying is Dolan's still there. Everything's still there. It's not like this team's going to be turned around with Phil Jackson coming in, because this plane was a fucking train wreck with James Dolan running it.
The one thing that did show was James Dolan has complete faith and disinterest in the team. So what he's willing to do is, once you're the head of basketball operations, you do your thing.
But do you trust James Dolan to hire anyone like?
Think about this. Think about his past hires. Phil Jackson, was that not the best option available at the time? Was there anyone who said this is a terrible move?
Had to toss a ton of money at him, and it obviously, but he just got the brand. But he just got the
right person.
But he just got the brand name.
Did he not pick the right person?
In hindsight, no.
Before that, just going back in time, it was like, honestly, he picked popular people.
Yeah, he's just picked the brand name.
Isaiah was actually really good with drafting too. Like, he wasn't terrible when it came to personnel.
I don't remember any of his
trades
picks.
were terrible.
Who was his draft picks?
I'm trying to go back in my head right now.
No one. Name the last superstar
the
Knicks have
not
built.
Superstar, but I think that wasn't
star.
All right, wasn't he responsible for
Landry Fields?
Ew.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember any Knicks player that wasn't signed or traded to the Knicks.
Fair enough.
Because they don't build talent.
I think that was pretty much everybody who was traded to the Nuggets.
Wilson Chandler, Danilo Gallinari, et cetera, et cetera. They could have been the scouts underneath them. Yeah. I don't think it was Isaiah. Isaiah, again, I don't... the whole thing with the Knicks is I don't trust James Dolan to hire. James Dolan's going to hire people and just leave it. He's going to want them to print money. He's going to want them to go to playoffs. That's why Sam Hinkie's not going to get hired.
Well, no, Sam Hinkie, this is not a good fit for him anyway.
No, I think he's not a guy that's going to be trying to build and bring in free agents or anything. He's going to be a guy that's going to want to build from the ground up and get rid of every single asset. There's some names out there. You mentioned Chauncey Billups. Joe Dumars apparently is interested. He was
been passed over a couple times.
Yeah, he was team president for the Pistons for 14 years. And in 2004, he was ahead of that. Allen Houston right now is former shooting guard. Obviously, I just mentioned him. Yep. Climbing up the franchise as assistant general manager and GM of the Worcester Knicks. Obviously, the home of Jimmer Fredette for a while in the D League. Yes, Jeff Van Gundy is interesting. We'll see Jeff Van Gundy could be an interesting one.
Van Gundy would be interesting. Yeah,
he's still got his pulse on there.
That would be a hometown thing too, and that's
something because obviously he's a former coach.
The Knicks, like, that's what fans are used to, and that's a name that I think the fans
players would
respect
behind as well. Mm-hmm. So I think Van Gundy would be interesting. I think Griff wouldn't be a bad signer. I think that's because from the outside, he's a very likable guy. He seems to make the right connections with people, and he seems to go all out for every move that they want to make. He tried to make it happen for them. Mm-hmm. LeBron wanted this, he got that. LeBron wanted this, he got that too. And it's just anything you can do, he showed that he's going all in for your team to win. So right now, this is a team that's not in a win right now moment, but they're at a crisis because they need to make a decision about their biggest contract in Carmelo Anthony. And then, all right, if he stays, how do we continue to build around he, Porzingis, Frank? And if he goes, how do we go without him? Do we get value? Do we cut him? What's the best way to move along without him?
And that's the thing I look at, where obviously Porzingis he's the future. And I really hated hearing last week when you had before the draft, Phil Jackson is like, well, we're going to do whatever's best for this team, even if it means trading Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I just wanted to slap him in the face and be like, no, you're stupid. You build around this guy because there's something special about him. That's why you drafted him when no one even knew that he was going to go this high, and they booed you for it. And then we're like, well, we were wrong. Phil was right. The thing with this team that I think that I just can't understand is going back to the point of, do you trust Dolan to not just hire a guy, but stay out of the business? And I know right now it's kind of maybe because the Phil thing was getting sloppy, and that's why it came into it. When I hear they had two different sides. Dolan wanted, we want to trade Carmelo. And Phil Jackson, no, we got to do a buyout with Carmelo Anthony. And that was really one of the things that kind of said, you know what, then you're gone. Get out of here because we're trading them. I sit there and go, I wonder if Dolan can hire the next guy and say, it's yours. Well, like, I'm going to let you do what you do, and I'm going to get out of the business. I kind of feel like Dolan is going to want to keep his little hands on it. I want to say little grubby hands on it and kind of have a little bit of control over it, even if it's not like complete control like a Doc Rivers.
But also the thing with Dolan, and the thing that you see that his ineptitude come through with even this firing. They could have fired Phil Jackson and not pay him anything. Like recently, they waited too long, fired him, and then Phil got an option. And I think
$24 million. I want to say
$24 million. So James Dolan just paid $24 million to Phil Jackson when he could have fired him earlier and not paid him $24 million. So I mean, this is something where you still see his
or use some of that money to buy out Carmelo rather than saying, "Hey, could you please waive that trade clause?"
But I don't even think it's something. It's the money. It's just the fact that I don't think James Dolan fucking cares about money. This guy's got so much money. I mean, he's helping running Viacom or something like that. But James Dolan, it's something where you look at him and it's just something. It's just you waited too long. It's something where franchises that are running well are gonna save any money as possible just because it saves face. I mean, most of these guys can waste $24 million. And it doesn't matter because you're the owner of the New York Knicks, New York Rangers, etc. You have all this money to blow. And he's been able to just let the New York Rangers run. And the New York Rangers have been a successful franchise.
Exactly.
But you never hear him jumping in and kicking people out and just making bad hires. He made one good hire with the Rangers and he's been able to run it. It's just something where I don't see him being able to make that hire. I don't think he's going to go with Mazzy. I don't think he's going to go with Griffin. I think you look at an Allen Houston, a Chauncey Billups. I think he's going to throw in someone who's inexperienced and not ready for this job and not ready for New York. I mean, obviously Allen Houston's been there before. I think the smartest hire that he could go for is Jeff Van Gundy. I don't know how those two are going to get along because obviously
I think they would
they've got history.
Dolan fired him before.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, I don't know if time is going to heal that wound after seeing the whole drama this year with Dolan and Oakley. I mean, that's just ugly.
I mean, it was 15 years ago since Jeff Van Gundy was fired in 2002. Yeah. So
he hasn't spoken out super negatively about it.
No. He's also been like when you're on ESPN, you can't be bashing Dolan like that.
And Jeff Van Gundy, I mean, he also had, but also he could have gone like off ESPN and like been interviewed and then could have said something about that.
Jeff Van Gundy's not that kind of guy. He's a stand-up guy.
I think Jeff Van Gundy, you kind of see the itch to get back into sports. Obviously, he's jumping in on the Olympic team. Helping coach that. Obviously, he's stuck around in broadcasting. I think that not only I think it's kind of similar to the Steve Kerr hire because obviously different roles. Obviously, but Steve Kerr, he also helped out in the Phoenix Suns organization before going to TNT and then before going to the Warriors.
That front office mind on the court.
I still think that Jeff Van Gundy could thrive not only because he's thrived before in New York, but just because he still has his pulse on the basketball. The basketball kind of beat, but he also has the experience of being in a front office, being around a front office where Chauncey Billups really hasn't had the experience.
Right.
Allen Houston has had it at a D-League level, but can he be thrown into the waters into New York right away? David Griffin has obviously been there in Cleveland, has won a ring, but he was
through the fire.
But he was led by LeBron James. Yep. And LeBron was giving him wish list, and it's like, all right, check, check, check. I mean, it's easy to go through there. And Mazzy, he's been able to do a fantastic job in Toronto.
But he hasn't been able to get the ring.
But he hasn't been able to have LeBron James.
And he's been able to fleece the Knicks every single time.
Yeah. I've got two notes, and I totally agree. These are halfway out of here. But the one thing is you brought up Steve Kerr, and think back to the fact that Dolan did not want to pay that extra $1 million to get Steve Kerr signed with the Knicks as their coach. Instead, they ended up with Derek Fisher. Remember, the argument was over, I think it was literally like a $1 million a 1 year kind of a thing. So financials can get you completely screwed over.
You're welcome, Golden State.
So yeah, you're welcome, Golden State. Phil Jackson might be in a different place right now if that had gone through. And to his credit, Isaiah Thomas did sign Wilson Chandler, David Lee.
Well, that's
Sign
the one,
or
I'm sorry,
No,
drafted.
That's the thing I brought
Channing
up.
Frye
The 4
and
draft
Trevor Ariza.
The 4 drafts picks that he had with Isaiah Thomas was Ronaldo Balkman, Marty Collins,
doesn't matter.
Wilson Chandler, and then Danilo Gallinari.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the first 2 gone after
Just trying to
Isaiah,
prove a point.
gone after Isaiah Thomas. They only lived his shelf life of 06 to 08. Chandler was their pass. Gallinari didn't even come over until Isaiah Thomas was gone.
Yeah, I mean, Gallinari played, I think, like 1 or 2 seasons with the Knicks, and then was traded to
not the worst
Nuggets.
track record. So, I mean, at that point, I just want to give him the credit that he has gone for the obvious option in many cases in the past, and it hasn't worked out for him for one reason or another.
Ever. It's never worked out for him. And yes, he drafted Danilo Gallinari, he drafted Wilson Chandler, but people get lucky sometimes. You look at the track record of Isaiah Thomas, it was a fucking mess. You look at Phil Jackson.
Oh, he made trades like a kid with some crayons.
I
don't know how he was like this team to that team to this team. Like,
you look at Phil,
what are you doing?
You look at Phil Jackson.
Carol!
You look at Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson looked like you look like Phil Jackson, and you look like a genius drafting Kristaps.
Yep.
That was a failure. He's
What? Did you just say Porzingis is a failure?
No, Phil Jackson was a failure.
Oh.
Jesus.
Thank
Sorry. I'm saying Isaiah was a failure. Phil was a failure.
Yeah. Everyone who's been
These
there
shitheads
since
can get
Dolan.
lucky before.
Yep.
I mean,
I
it's
see-
something where I don't even remember the guy before Isaiah Thomas because I don't think I was watching basketball in 2002.
I just, like, the thing with Phil, I think that, of course, the Steve Kerr thing, if you give him the money, it would have been a lot different. I kind of have a feeling that if the melodrama wasn't as high as it was this entire season, this might be a little different because that is literally, to me, the piece that drove this to where it is right now is one wanted a buyout, one wanted a trade. Phil said at this point, like, he was on the mindset of, you know what, let's just get him out of town. We don't have to deal with him. And James Dolan in his head thought, we got to get something for him.
I don't think Phil wanted the buyout. It was Melo's
it's just at this point.
Melo's camp wanted the buyout.
But he was the one that was entertaining the buyout, and that's where Dolan came in and said, no, we need a trade, and then boom, this happened.
Well, and I also think it goes to, I think if Phil never tweets about that thing about Melo, then we're not in this situation, even if he was dangling Kristaps in those trades.
His public media perception and just awareness
horrid.
is terrible. I think that's... in that area, I think that, Phil shot himself in the foot many times. Anytime he spoke in public.
He didn't do himself any favors. I'm not trying to say that.
No, I think moving forward, I think they've got to decide how they move forward with Melo decides their new direction of basketball and who's going to fill that role. I think if you're going for push for what you've got, you go with Griff. I think if you're going for a rebuild, you go with Massa. So it's one of the two in my mind. I see your wild card because it's Dolan. Like, all of them have credence, but I'm leaning towards the middle.
What was that?
I was going to say, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Sure.
What does this mean for the future of Jeff Hornacek?
I don't think it matters right
Does
now.
he get to
Think he's
play
on a
out
prove
with,
it year.
Does he get to play it out with a new president or GM, or is it like, you know what, I'm new, you're gone?
Yeah, no, I think he's going to get at least a year because Jeff Hornacek isn't a terrible coach. I mean, he's still got.
He got,
No, I know. I'm saying what I'm saying is,
got
I think
the raw end of the deal in
whoever
Phoenix.
brings him in is going to realize that he's not a bad coach. I think he's at least going to get a prove it year, like Dave said. Rapid fire, because we'll just throw these out there. If you had to pick a name that's going to be the basketball of operations, president of basketball operations for the New York Knicks, it's going to be
Griffin.
Yuri.
I'll go Jeff Van Gundy because I want that.
Oh.
I want Jeff Van Gundy.
I just don't think it'll happen.
Carmelo Anthony will be traded this offseason.
No, he walks.
No, this offseason.
No.
Right now.
No, I'm saying he won't get traded at all. He walks, they get nothing.
Well, that
I'm
ruins
gonna
my next
say
question.
he will stay.
He'll stay until his contract's up.
Yep.
And then I'll say he's traded at the trade deadline. With Hornacek, will he get fired after this year? Or before
I
this
want
year?
to say no, but I kind of want to feel yeah.
Will Jeff Van Gundy, will Jeff Hornacek be the coach in 2018, 2019?
Hornacek will be there, yes.
Yeah, I agree there. Kristaps Porzingis, will he be a Knick in 7 years?
Yes, and I also want to throw out a good tweet about.
Well, because he's still an RFA.
I know.
I'm going to say yes, and also best tweet of the day from Paulie Paps. He said Kristaps should attend Phil's exit interview.
That'd be
That was
funny.
one of my
that's
favorite
me.
tweets of the day.
That's some weird shit right there.
Dave, Kristaps, will he be Nick in 7 years?
No, this organization is just gonna fuck it up.
I think so. I think this new organization is going to fuck it up.
Like
big
he
time.
should be, absolutely. You should not let him go.
I honestly feel
Hang
like,
on to him forever.
do you know what? Fuck it. I honestly think they're going to somehow bring Phil Jackson back, and then they're going to do the Nerlens trade.
Phil
they're going
gets
to do
hired as the president, but gets hired as the coach next year
Oh, God.
for even more money.
and then they're going to do the Kristaps trade, where it's like Dallas gives them a first rounder, but if it's like not in the top 15, then it becomes 2 seconds. That's what they're going to get for
Right.
Kristaps. Because this team's just a fuck up.
Welcome to 2K.
Anyways, tell us what you think of the New York Knicks in the comments down below. I feel like we're getting a lot of hate on this one, but I don't really care. The Knicks are a joke. Also, I'm really sick of I'm sick of talking about the Knicks, and I hope we don't talk about them this offseason.
This is a good reason to talk about the Knicks, though.
No, it was. I'm just sick of talking about the Knicks. That's it. We've talked about the Knicks so much this season.
This was a good reason, though, and I'm happy
The
for...
drama's making my hair fall out.
I'm going to say this, though.
What's that?
I am happy for Knick fans on this day because I one day want to feel the same happiness that you have. Fire Garpax.
I love Knicks fans. And I feel bad for Knicks fans.
I want
just
to
hate
feel
the
that
New York
same
Knicks.
happiness one day. Fire Garpax.
I just hate the New York Knicks. But anyways, tell us what you think in the comments down below about this Phil Jackson firing, what you think about the New York Knicks in general.
Gave up the 16th. I'm not going to get into it.
No, you're not going to get into it right now because we're into the podcast. The also thing I wanted to mention, and I didn't mention that I thought was going to be a funny joke, it was, and I totally forgot about it. Anyways, let's end this podcast. This is the Train Wreck. It's 10:30. For Dave Oster, for Ricky Widmer. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, thank you so much. I think this is going to be the first podcast that's put out in its full, or second podcast that's going to be put on full on YouTube. So if you're watching the full thing on YouTube, thank you so much. If you're watching the segment, don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to check out more Fast Break coming to you and more MVP coming out to you coming up soon. I'm going to end this because this is terrible. Anyways, have a good day, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Have a good day, everybody. Bam.